there's going to be a time where we will talk about the losses for the Houston Texans, but right now we are going to talk about some of the free agents that they did sign. And I know what some people are thinking, like, man, oh man, we should have gone after Chris Jones, who signed with the Chiefs before the free agency period began. Maybe we go after another big defensive tackle. Maybe we try and spend a ton of money. But when you start to see the kind of money that like Christian Wilkins is getting, 4 years, $110 million, and you start realizing that in order to get an elite defensive tackle, not edge, tackle is going to cost you between 24 and $30 million, you have to start wondering to yourself if that is a smart way to spend the money, especially when the Texans have multiple holes to fill. But they did go out and sign a few different guys. So in this video, we're going to talk about 3 of the signings. I'm going to give you my opinion on them. One of them I know really, really well. And I think there's some good stuff that they have going on here, and I'm going to tell you why I like the moves that they made. Before I do that, if you have yet to subscribe, hey, this isn't our first channel. We have another one, Sports Talk Detroit, but we love the NFL, especially teams that the NFL ignores, and we love the Texans. It's been fun watching them all year. We've been following them since before the year started. Don't worry, you'll never see a Cowboys video on here. So let's talk about what they are doing with all of their money. And one of the first ones that they did was they went out and they signed defensive lineman Denico Autry. Now, this is very interesting. Denico Autry is 33 years old. He's not young. They signed him to a 2-year, $20.5 million deal. At the time of recording this, I don't know what the guaranteed money is. If this is basically if it's like a $20.5 million deal where half of it's guaranteed, and so next year you can just cut him scot-free, great move. If you have to pay him for 2 years, you're paying him his 35 and 36 age season, then, you have to start wondering, is it as good of a move as we originally thought? But anyways, with all of that being said, Denico Autry is a guy who is not young, but in the last 3 years, when he's been his oldest, have been by far his best 3 years. If you look at PFF, you'll see that in the last 3 years, he's had 11, 8, and 12 sacks. Okay, by my calculations, that's 31 sacks out of his 65 total sacks. Now, other places have him at 59 or 59 and a half. I've noticed PFF doesn't really do half sacks, so that's kind of the number, but he has almost half of his sacks in the last 3 years. So his pass rush has gone up immensely, and some of that is because, he can come off the edge. You can move him inside. You can do a lot of different things with him, and that's what makes him this special player. He's like a Swiss Army knife. A lot of teams and defenses like guys like this, the long, tall guys. He's 6'5", 285. So if you want to keep him in there at defensive tackle on a NASCAR package, if you know what that is, where you're basically all out for the rush, then you can do that. If you want him to play off the edge on what could be a rundown and have him be more of a run stopper, he can do that. If you want him to rush off the edge, he can do that. And that's what I like about this. You just got a guy. Sure, he's 33 and a half years old. He's a little longer in the tooth, but also he's playing his best football. He's going to be a guy that's going to come in and be great for the younger players on this defense and on this defensive line, and he's going to be a good player. So I think it's a good signing, but especially when you pair it with what they did yesterday, which was Folorunso Fatukasi. All right, Fatukasi is staying in the AFC South. He was released by the Jags, and he has signed a 1-year contract, all right, with the Texans. That's really good. I think that's fantastic. He's familiar with Ryan's defensive system because he played under New York Jets coach Robert Saleh. All right, so both Ryans and Saleh were 49ers defensive coordinators. He knows what he's doing. So what's the difference between Denico Autry and Fatukasi? Well, the difference right up here, about 35 pounds. And so Fatukasi, his big thing is I am going to be a run-stopping player. He wasn't as great. I don't think Jacksonville utilized him correctly, if I'm going to be honest. When he was in New York, his rookie year, he barely played. Then he put out really good grades with the Jets. 81, 80, 65, a little bit down that year. That was interesting to me. But then he went to Jacksonville and just couldn't quite get back to what he was before. Now he can be back in a system that he obviously works in. This is good. The numbers aren't out on this yet, but as far as interior defensive line, this is a guy, you can put him and Autry next to each other, and it can go really well for you. You can put Autry as a big guy on the other edge, and what's nice, I think Autry's good enough if you put him on the outside. If you have Fatukasi on the inside and then you have Will Anderson on the other edge, he's good enough that if you double Will Anderson, Autry can make you pay for trying to guard him with just a single offensive tackle. But if you double Autry, Will Anderson's going to go off on you. So do I think the Texans could still be in play for one more player? Do I think it would be awesome if they went out and got like a Danielle Hunter with the extra cap space? Yeah, I do. They realize they have to sign some of their guys, but that's not for another 3 or 4 years. So if they could convince Hunter to come in on a 3 or 4 year deal, oh my goodness, that'd be good. But there's a bidding war going for that guy. And who knows, by the time you're watching this, he might already be gone. So that's what you did on the defensive line. Now for the third player that I was talking to you about. This one's kind of interesting. It's Jeff Okudah. I know Jeff Okudah really well. Like we said, we have another channel, Sports Talk Detroit. Jeff Okudah is known as being the bust. And you signed him. The stuff is out on this one. $4.75 million deal with $2.5 million guaranteed. This is a good amount of money to spend on a guy that you're still hoping will play well. This system has traditionally done a fantastic job of being cornerback friendly. Stingley is clearly your number one corner. Okudah probably won't be your number two, but he could be. He's shown some ability to play in the slot, and quite frankly, he can play safety. I've always said you should move him to safety. When you look at him, he was a good athlete, all right? He was a good athlete coming out of college, but only in unique ways. Vertical and broad jump, and his size. His speed is just okay, but he has the size to play safety. He has the chops to tackle, and he came out as a top 5 pick because he was so smooth. He was just so smooth at Ohio State. And now that he's no longer at Ohio State and he's had a couple of injuries, you're looking at him, I think he even tore his Achilles. You're looking at him as a guy, not recently, don't worry, he's a couple years removed from it. But you're looking at a guy that is just like, he really lacks in confidence. And if you can find a way to get his confidence back, you could find yourself a diamond in the rough here, because he was drafted number 3 overall for a reason. So overall, I think these are smart deals, but it hasn't taken him out of other things. You did lose a few players as well. Cashman is gone. I think that hurts, but you weren't going to pay a certain price for him. And again, this defense is linebacker friendly. So anyways, we'll continue talking about this. Free agents like crazy. Just wanted to share my thoughts on this day so far. Thanks for watching. See you later.